2, 1. You know, dude, while we're letting this water cool down from our boiling process, why don't you tell some of our newer viewers that are just getting into primitive skills, bushcraft, wilderness living, which are all intertwined, about yourself? How did you get started? You know, how long have you been doing this, and what has your journey been through life?
Well, we haven't got enough time for all that, but I really got interested in doing this stuff because of my dad showing me how to make and use a bow and drill, which took me a couple of months to do when I finally got a coal, and I was 12, 13 years old. Then my dad had some property in the desert. That's about that same time, a friend of mine's father gave me the book called Wanderer of the Wasteland by Zane Grey. And it was about a man that he had a lost love, and he went out in the desert and wandered around. It was very romantic to me at the time.
That's right.
But I thought, well, I'm going to do that too. But he knew the land in the book. He knew the land, and Zane Grey was kind of like, his books were kind of like later on Louis L'Amour did. Everything he talked about was a real place. And so when my dad had the place out in the desert, I got so I could take off with a couple of dogs we had, and I'd be gone for a couple of days. And I learned the plants, I learned the animals, I learned how to trap. My father showed me how to trap, how to set snares, and it just never left me. It was something I was always fascinated by.
That's right.
Yeah, and plus I grew up in the era where Tarzan was a big deal, and I wanted to be Tarzan also. And I also wanted to be Batman and Superman, but I knew those things wouldn't happen. I even had a really cool cape.
Well, how about swinging from the trees like Bear Grylls does?
Well, we actually swung from trees. We set up ropes and did that. But we were a little more nuts than most people. We had big avocado groves, and we set up these ropes and swung on those. So as you get older, you start getting into it a little deeper, and you don't realize you're really starting something that's going to be a lifelong pursuit. And some of my friends I was in school with, we got real interested in falcons, and we got into falconry, which took us out into the middle of nowhere, and we learned how to repel, taught ourselves how to repel. And so one day we didn't kill ourselves because we found out later we were doing it wrong. You know, just being out like that, you're in the outdoors, you're in the wilds, and you're doing this kind of thing.
That's right.
Then when I was 18, I joined the Marine Corps, and I was in the Marine Corps for 4 or 5 years. Seemed like 100, but I happened to be stationed in 29 Palms, California, so that put me right in the desert. I was the only guy in my whole unit that liked the desert, and so it put me back in that environment that I knew that I liked.
That's right.
And then I got out of the Marine Corps, and of course I kept camping and all that kind of stuff, but I never realized I was pursuing something. It was just something that we did. So later on in my life, I became a music publisher and a record producer, and one of the things that kept me sane was being able to get away from the studio and from that world of the music business and get out to the mountains and the deserts. And that's when I knew I was pursuing something, and how I learned about different kinds of woodscraft and so on that I like to do, and the primitive skills. And then that just kept kind of building in me and pursuing more and more. And I have a library of close to 600 books that are just on the skills and edible plants and so on.
Yeah, I saw the man cave.
Yeah,
it's pretty awesome.
yeah. It's
I like this stuff.
It takes a lot of energy to do this stuff, but it's fascinating. It's just like, you know, when you first make fire with a hand drill or a bow and drill, it's absolutely magical. When the first time you do it, and it never loses that either.
Yeah.
As you keep going.
I still have my my first hand drill spindle.
Yeah.
And the hearthboard.
Yeah.
So.
Well, as you go along in this stuff, and you slowly pick up skills, and you don't realize that it's a skill. You don't realize you're learning something. All of a sudden, you can just do this, and you don't think about where you learned it from or who you learned it from. Although I think it's important as much as you can to pay tribute to whoever showed you something, whoever was a mentor
absolutely.
for any one skill, whatever it may be.
Yeah, yeah.
Then way later in my life, I'm not a young guy, and when I was 65, I started writing articles for a magazine called Wilderness Way Magazine. And I found that if you write what you know about, you're okay. So I knew about these things. So I started writing about them, and I wrote for them for 7 years until they went broke, probably because of my writing. But they went out of business, which is a shame. It was a great little magazine.
Yeah, I was reading a couple of them over at your house.
Yeah.
Very, very interesting stuff.
Yeah, and you can still find
That's right.
some of those. Some people still, excuse me, some people sell those. You'll see them online once in a while.
Mm-hmm.
But, so, you know, your life isn't over.
Yeah, that's right. Now, what would some of the advice you would want to give, you know, someone who's just starting to get into this stuff, you know, and just starting to learn this stuff? And I hate to say it, but even watching some of the TV programs and thinking, you know, how cool would this be to actually do it?
Right.
And yeah, what would your advice be for them? And my advice would be keep going, you know, keep following your dream, and it takes a lifetime of learning this stuff.
Yeah,
Start out young.
I'm still learning things.
That's right. Me too. Every day.
I think that there's a couple of books that you can get that are really good on the so-called bushcraft, woodscraft, whatever you may want to call it. But there's ones that tend to go more towards the primitive skills as opposed to traditional skills or modern survival skills. My feeling is that primitive skills should be your foundation. That's what you should start with. You learn how to make fire with a hand drill. You can buy a book that'll tell you how to do that. You can see videos that'll tell you how to do that. If there's nobody around that knows, I think if you look around wherever you live, there's classes somewhere where people are teaching. You need to try to start learning the wild edible plants, how to identify those, how to fix them. If you don't know any of those things, there's always somebody that teaches in your area. I haven't found a place yet in the United States that there isn't somebody who teaches.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
And if you don't know, if you can't find it, go to your library. They'll know many times.
Yeah. Yeah. Even look at some of the native reference books.
That's right.
You know, like the I've been speaking of books, I've been reading the Plants of the Cahuilla Indians. That's a great book for this area. And back on primitive skills, Larry Dean Olson's book,
Larry Dean,
Outdoor Survival Skills.
Right, that probably started the whole primitive skills movement.
Very good book, excellent.
We've got a couple books. We have my friend Paul Campbell.
Oh yes.
For this area again, has a book on the survival skills of native Californians, which actually is kind of not a great title because it can be applied almost anywhere in the United States.
That's right.
And then our other Campbell friend, he's got a
John
great book.
Campbell.
John Campbell.
Yeah, that's right. Arizona Bushman.
Yeah, another great book.
Yeah.
Absolutely great book. If you want a good wild foods edible book, Christopher Nergis has a great book.
That's right.
In the Footsteps of Our Ancestors. And he has other books out also. But there's a lot of authors out there, and most of them have good information. Now, sometimes reading about this stuff can get kind of boring. So even watching some of the videos can get boring, like this one. But they can. So, you know, when you can actually get out there with somebody and practice this stuff, even if you got a buddy you can hang out with who thinks you're not as crazy as you are, they can go out and you can do this stuff.
That's right.
And it's a whole skill set that you'll slowly build, and you find out that you can do it. Anybody can do this. You can be any age and do this.
Yeah. And the one thing I want to add is you know, the TV shows. You got to be careful with those TV shows. A lot of the modern day TV shows that show survival skills and bushcraft or living off of the land, a lot of it's for ratings and drama. So, you know, be careful of that stuff. You know, take it with a grain of salt. You know, it is entertaining to watch, but you know, getting out here and actually doing it, you actually see how different it really is.
That's right.
And how long it actually takes to build a fire.
Yeah.
And to gather the wood. And
well, there's a whole process
absolutely.
to everything. Just what you didn't see is Jeff gathering the wood, making his
hand drill, yeah.
His hand drill.
Processing the
wood.
That's right.
Getting it the right sizes so you can add to it. I think we mentioned earlier in the video that some people try to progress too fast and they'll load too much stuff on at once and they'll smother their fire.
That's right. Even though that this wood came from home, it was still gathered. And I remember going up into into the Big Bear Mountains gathering this stuff, and how long it took to, you know, gather enough wood to stay warm for one night.
Oh, it's a lot of wood.
It's a lot of work, and it's a lot of wood, and it's a lot of hydration and calories. So, you know, that brings me once again back to the, you know, the TV shows is take everything with a grain of salt. You know, I was watching one program, I won't say the name, a gentleman went out and it showed him carving down one trap. The next morning he had a beaver. Well, what they didn't show is how many traps that took and how much math was went into that, and the physics and gathering and carving and the amount of energy and time. They just, you know, they cut out a lot of stuff. So, you know, the TV shows, especially the drama ones, you know, take that with a grain of salt and actually go out there and do it and see how different this stuff really is.
Yeah, and I wouldn't follow some of their advice.
Yeah, I wouldn't either.
Things they do.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, to get yourself killed.
Yeah, that's right. So, yeah. Well, anyways, so we'll get back and we'll check this water out. It's still steaming pretty good, and it has a little bit more cooling to go. But anyways, I thank you for joining me, and you know,
my pleasure.
Yeah, we're always out in the field together, so you know, we'll get Dude on camera again.
Well, next thing you know, you'll be like me. You'll be doing this for 60+ years.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I still got a lot. I got a lot to learn. That's for sure.
It never stops.
That's right. So, anyways, I'm Jeff with MartinSurvival.com, and of course, Dude McLean. He teaches with us here at Martin Survival some of the weekend classes, and tell them about Dirt Time. You're one of the founders.
Yeah, I'm one of the founders of Dirt Time with Christopher Nergis and Alan Halcon.
Good friends of mine.
We have a forum, dirttime.com. We have new articles up almost every day.
Absolutely.
And we also do an event once a year, which will be now. This next one will be May 17th through the 23rd.
Yeah, Dirt Time 14.
Yeah, Dirt Time 14.
Dirt Time 14.
Yeah, and we have all kind. We have survival instructors from all over the country come in. Some of the best there is to be had.
That's right.
And you'll have a great time.
That's
right.
right.
Learn a lot.
So anyways, I'm Jeff with MartinSurvival.com, Dude McLean from DirtTime.com. We'll see you in the next one.